Before we begin, I just want to do a special mention. Thank you so much, Vivian, as always, for dropping by. And thank you and welcome, Lauren Light. I'm so glad to see you here. And I'm so glad I can interact with you as well. I hope you guys can share with me your thoughts in these stories. In honor of the Halloween coming soon, I'm going to start with the history of ghost taxis of Japan. This is by Zach Davison. Alright. The Yune of Japan have been riding taxis again. While they tend to eschew trains and buses, since taxis appeared around the late Taisho period, Yurei have been hailing cabs for quick rides around town. In Japan, ghost passengers, taxi drivers have been reporting ghostly passengers who climb on board, ask to be taken to a destination, then mysteriously vanish before paying their toll. The recent spate of ghostly passengers have been attributed to the 2011 Fukushima disaster, as the dead struggle to find their way home, or may not even know they are dead. This is no new phenomenon. One of the first things the author of this wrote in Yurei was Tales of Ghostly Japan for Japanese back in 2005. The cab driver knew that the ghosts of Japan were not confined to ancient graveyards and shadow-haunted shrines. Any modern resident of the nation's capital could tell you that the taxis of Tokyo are more haunted than Hirsu's. And his own route took him regularly through open gates to the spirit world. There was Santakaya Tunnel, which winds beneath the cemetery of Senju-in Temple, or Shirokane Tunnel, where legend has it that screaming faces are silhouetted against the tunnel's pillars. through which the Shinigami, that is, the spirit of death itself, is said to pass. All of his fellow cabbies could box a yawn of passengers who got on then disappeared, or of catching a glimpse of a woman or child's face in the rearview mirror. He too had a story to tell. Before we continue, I'm going to read a comment from Ethan. I assume your Instagram is buried under 6 inches of dust. Oh my, why do you say that? Did you send me a message on Instagram? I'm going to start posting on my social media next month, but if you message me there, I will be able to respond as soon as I can. I'm going to check it later. Where were we? By the way, my throat is not in the best condition, so I hope you could forgive me for that. It was a stormy autumn night near Aoyama Cemetery, where he picked up a poor young girl drenched by the rain. It was dark, so he didn't get a good look at her face, but she seemed sad, and he figured she had been visiting a recently deceased relative or friend. The address she gave was some distance away, and they drove in silence. A good cabbie doesn't make small talk when picking someone up from a cemetery. When they arrived at the address, the girl didn't get out, but instead whispered for him to wait a bit while she stared out the window at his second-floor apartment. 10 minutes or so passed as she watched, never speaking, never crying, simply observing a solitary figure move about the apartment. Suddenly, the girl asked to be taken to a new address. This one back near the cemetery where he had first picked her up. The rain was heavy, and the driver focused on the road, leaving the girl to her thoughts. Told you this, I am reading a comment. Tell you 10 days ago. Oh my, I am so sorry. I'll be checking it later. And hello, welcome, Xiaomo Long. I'm so glad you interacted with me here in this stream. Please tell me if there are any issues with the audio, okay? I'll proceed, I'll continue. When he arrived at the new address, a modern house in a good neighborhood, cabby opened the door and turned around to collect his fare. But, to his surprise, he found himself staring at an empty back seat with a deep puddle where the girl had been sitting moments before. Mouth open, he just sat there, staring at the vacant seat, until a knocking on the window shook him from his reverie. The father of the house, seeing the taxi outside, had calmly walked out, bringing with him the exact charge for the fare. He explained that the young girl had been his daughter, who died in a traffic accident some years ago and was buried in Aoyama Cemetery. From time to time, he said, she hailed a cab and, after visiting her old boyfriend's apartment, asked to be driven home. The father thanked the driver for his troubles and sent him on his way. I have to say, I got chills in the middle of reading that. To be honest, ghost stories are not my forte. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Ghost stories are not my forte, nor are they something that I listen to regularly. But I love folklore, and Japan has lots of stories about yoga, so I'll persevere. Now, let's move on to the story of the vanishing hitchhiker. Anyone with a knowledge of folklore can easily recognize these tales of disappearing passengers as the vanishing hitchhiker. It is an ancient legend, the oldest known account dates back to ancient Rome, when Proculus meets a traveler on the road who disappears after revealing himself as Romulus, one of Rome's legendary founders. The story is known in almost every country with slight variations. In his 1981 book, The Vanishing Hitchhiker, Jan Harold Brawant says the legend has recognizable parallels in Korea, Tsarist Russia, among Chinese Americans, Mormons, and Ozark mountaineers. The story has a basic pattern. A driver picks up a passenger, either a customer for a taxi cab or a hitchhiker. The passenger requests a destination, and the two chat a bit When they arrive at the destination, the driver turns around to find the passenger vanished, always leaving some trace of the phantom passenger to prove they existed. The trace can be a lost glove or a puddle of water from the rain, or evidence in a taximeter. There is often some additional confirmation, such as a graveyard with their name, or, in this case, a father coming out to pay the fare. They are always told as true stories, not legends. And maybe they are. What do you guys think? Did you guys think of that story? What would you do if you were a taxi cab driver and you had a passenger who's a vanishing hitchhiker? To be honest, if it were me, I would simply cease being a driver. And I feel like I would get chills for the rest of my life. Let's move on to the next story. This is about Jakotsu Papa. In English, the old snake bone woman. First, you may be asking, what is the Jakotsu Papa? Well, her name, Ja, means snake. Kotsu is bone. Papa is old woman. Her origin is this. Little is known about the Jakotsu Papa, apart from a Toriyama root and its Konjaku Hyakushi. It is not known if he invented the character, or if he collected the legend from somewhere or someone. Jakotsu Papa does not appear in any prior collections, either in Japan or China. The other names mentioned by Toriyama, the snake family, and the old snake bone woman's husband, Jacoemo, have never been found in any other text, Japanese or Chinese. Toriyama wrote, there is an old woman from a northern Funkankoku, China. In her right hand, she holds a large blue snake, and in her left hand, a red one. The people of this country call her the Jakotsu Papa. They say she is the wife of Jacoemo, 5 snake Emo, and that she holds vigil over the family tombs. significance of the color of the two snakes, other than just to be freaky. The only colored snakes in Japanese folklore are white snakes, such as in the story, the tanuki and the white snake. White snakes are considered sacred and bring illness and death when accidentally killed. So there's not much encounters, if any at all, with the Chokotsu Baba. I feel that she may have been just made up by Toriyama and not someone that may actually exist. But what do you guys think? That was just a character introduction. This time, let's move on to another story. This is the cruel attack at an Inari shrine. 4 statues were broken at Kegel Shrine in Tenjin, Fukuoka. At about 1 a.m. on the morning of the 25th, in Tenjin Ward, Fukuoka City, 4 stone fox statues were found broken on the grounds of Kegel Shrine. The police station made a check for other property damage. The statues were pushed off their bases and their heads broken off. So far, no tools or implements have been found that may have been used in the crime. There are absolutely no suspects. According to a patrolman, the 4 statues were located at the main shrine at the south entrance of the temple grounds. This deity of the shrine is the goddess Inari of profits and gains. The statues were approximately 1.2 to 1.5 meters in height. It is thought that the heads were broken off before they were pushed off their bases. They were discovered by a temple volunteer walking the perimeter. According to the police, temples and shrines in Nara and Kyoto have been desecrated by someone or something splashing an oil-like substance on the shrines. It is not known if the 2 attacks are related. The statues were carved by Kunihiro Seiho, age 76, and his father. they dedicated the statues in thanks of a long and healthy life of good work. Seo was enraged, saying, "I would visit the statues once a month. They mattered. Why would anyone do something like this? I can't understand at all." What do you think about this attack at Inari Shrine? They said that they could not find any evidence or any trace of a suspect. What do you think the purpose was for breaking the statues? This time, let's move on to details of mermaid meat. Japan has mermaids, but they are very different creatures from Western folklore. They can take many shapes, but the most common in the form of a fish with a woman's head. And even then, appearance is not the most distinctive feature. Eating the flesh of a mermaid is said to grant an extended lifespan, and sometimes it does something else. I didn't expect, I'm reading a comment, I didn't expect Japanese folk culture to be so complex. Me too. I have to be honest with you guys, this is the first time I'm reading all of this. I only know of some yokai, some spirits, but I didn't actually know their stories. So I'm just as surprised as you are, Mr. Warren. Alright, let's begin with Yaobikuni, the 800-year nun. One of Japan's most famous folk legends. Variations of this story can be found across the entire country. Most versions of the story involve a fisherman who catches a strange fish. He then brings it home to cook for his family and a friend. The friend notices that the fish has a human face and advises them not to eat it. The fisherman throws the fish away, but his hungry daughter slips into the kitchen and eats it anyway. She was then cursed with immortality and becomes known as Yaobikuni, the 800-year nun. Here's an interesting version, translated from Takeshi Nochi's Opinions About Life and Death as told by the legend of your bikini. Notice the difference about how the mermaid flesh is discovered. One day, a man was invited to dine and be entertained at the house of another man whom he had never met before. Now, this was a man learned in Buddhism. He had attended many lectures, and he knew that many such invitations led to places such as the palace of the Dragon King, or to a dead man's abode. He accepted, but was on guard. When the feast came, he saw that he was being served mermaid meat. He was repulsed by the feast and did not eat it, but he slipped some of the mermaid meat in his pocket as a souvenir of his strange adventure. Unfortunately, when he came home that night, his daughter searched his pockets to see if her father had brought her a treat. This daughter then gobbled down the mermaid meat. From that time on, she did not age. Her life became one of bitter loneliness. She married several times, but her husbands aged and died while she went on. Every single one of her friends and loved ones died as well. This is why eventually she became a nun and left her village to wander the country. At every place she visited, she planted a tree, either cedar, camellia, or pine. She eventually settled at Obama village in Wakasa province, where she planted her final set of trees. Those trees still stand to this day and are said to be 800 years old. I wonder where this girl is now and what her occupation is, or where she lives. If these legends are true, I would love to meet those that were once human, but was then cursed to become something else. I would not want to meet those that never experienced being human. I feel that maybe they're scarier, if that makes sense. Okay, to the next one. So normally, mermaid legends are found in port towns bordering the sea. But this story comes from Takakashi of Nakano, approximately 65 kilometers away from the show. I'm so sorry. Mr. Phelan said, food is food. I mean, that's true. But I don't think I can eat fish with a human face. I wish I could show you guys the photo that they provided as to what this mermaid looks like. It's not pleasing at all. Actually, I believe I could just send the link in the chat box. Okay, you guys can check this out yourselves. I'm just reading this. Let's continue. This legend follows the same beginning as the well-known Yobikuni legend that we read just earlier, but adds its own cruel twist. One day, a fisherman caught a mermaid in the ocean. The poor creature begged for its life, but the fisherman did not listen and killed the mermaid. He brought the meat home to where he lived with his family and 3 children. The following day, when he was out fishing, his hungry children crept into the storage box in the kitchen and gorged themselves on the mermaid flesh. Soon after, their bodies began to change. The skin of the children sprouted scales like that of a fish. This phenomenon kept going on throughout their whole body, and at the end of this torment, the children died. The father was racked with grief and bitterly regretted his actions. But it was too late. In a dream, a divine messenger told the father, to save your children's souls, make a pilgrimage to Tokakushi and plant 3 Seto trees to honor them. The father did as he was told and traveled the 400 kilometers to Takakushi to plant the trees. Up until today, the trees are still there, called the Sanbonsuki of Takakushi, or in English, the 3 Setos of Takakushi, where where they are worshipped in a Shinto shrine. That I have something to share with you guys. Actually, I've always wanted to become a mermaid. I've always wanted to have a tail. And okay, so when I was young and YouTube, I had access to YouTube, I would search. I'm so sorry. It's ridiculous. I would search how to become a mermaid. And there was a video. This girl was making a potion, and this potion had a ritual you could follow in order for you to become a mermaid. I gathered all the materials or ingredients I needed for the potion, and it was completed. Then I followed the ritual. So you had to go to the beach, you had to stay at night, and there had to be a moon. I remember this so clearly, and I followed every step of that ritual, and I was so excited to wake up in the morning, because I was promised that after the ritual and after the potion, I would wake up as a mermaid the following day. But to my dismay, I was not, in fact, a mermaid. So I was very disappointed, and I guess I learned a valuable lesson that day. Alright, that's definitely not a Japanese folklore. Let's move on to the last one, perhaps, for tonight. This one is titled Utsuro Bune. In English, the Hollow Ship. First, let's learn what Utsuro Bune means. In defining Utsuro Bune, the Bune part is easy. In Japanese, Bune means boat. Utsuro presents more of a challenge. When written, the hiragana is used almost exclusively, giving no clue to the exact definition. But the most common translation is empty or hollow. Thus the name the Hollow Ship. Let's now read the legend. The most well-known account and the most detailed comes from Wanshasitsu. Gyokte lived in the late Edo period. He was what was called a bunkashin, meaning an intellectual, a cultured man of letters. Gyokte was brimming with curiosity, and like many in the Edo period, had a passion for the supernatural and the weird. He hosted a monthly gather of knowledge seekers, such as himself, called the Tonkai, meeting of the Rabbit Garden. Gyokte and his fellow bunkashin would gather to swap tales and share interesting or weird stories they had heard. Something like what we would call a writer's circle in the modern world. Now, this is the story of the foreign woman in the hollow boat. Bio-accurate mermaid, Mr. Warren said. No, listen. I refuse to accept that mermaids are ugly. I know scientifically, biologically, whatever color you can think of, it makes sense that they're not beautiful. But please, for the sake of my heart, just agree with me that they're beautiful, graceful, kind creatures. Alright. On the 22nd of February, in the 3rd year of Gyowa, the year 1803, a strange object that looked like a small boat was spotted off the shore of Tsuruhama. The fisher folk who lived in that area observed the strange vessel and took to their boats and rowed out to meet it. With great effort, they towed the mysterious objects into the shallows and dragged it onto the beach. It was unlike any boat they had ever seen. The vessel measured about 3.30 meters tall and 5.45 meters wide. It was as round as a ball and resembled a covered incense burner. The top half was made of what looked like red lacquered rosewood, with windows patterned like folding screens, only with glass panels instead of paper. The whole thing was sealed watertight, with the seams plugged with something like pine pitch. The bottom of the vessel was bound with ribs of metal, possibly bronze or iron. It is speculated that the metal plating protected the bird from impact with sea rocks. Everyone was so amazed when the top swung open, as if hinged by some hidden latch or mechanism. Then the woman appeared. To give you a little background on what this looks like, just think of a classic UFO. It's shaped like a UFO, but I guess fatter. I have no other way of describing it. You're gonna have to bear with that. The woman that emerged from this vessel, her face was a pale pink color, and her hair and eyebrows were vivid red. Her hair hung down her back and had been lengthened with strips of something white, either animal fur or a kind of fabric. The extensions had been covered in white powder, almost like flour. What it was exactly, we have no way of knowing. The woman's dress was elegant and of strange material, tight at the top and loose at the bottom. The village women were very interested in seeing how she had achieved the effect of her hair and dress, but it remained a mystery. When the villagers attempted communication with the woman, she responded in an unknown language. She was about 1.5 meters tall and carried a square box. This box appeared very important to her, and she would not release her grip on it for even just a moment. She would not even let anyone get close to it. The villagers checked the interior of the mysterious ship and found 2 sheets and 2 small containers of water. The water supply was insufficient for survival, so the ship must have had some means of generating fresh water. There was some form of baked goods and some kind of meat twisted together like a rope that served as provisions. Gonna insert my opinion a little bit here. So basically she brought some sort of turkey, in my understanding. The villagers had a discussion about what to do with the strange woman and her boat. elder of the village proposed the idea that perhaps she was a princess of some distant country. Perhaps the princess had been married, but took a commoner as a lover. As punishment, her father the king had her lover's head chopped off and put into a box. Then the princess was placed in this odd vessel and abandoned at sea. After all, he reasoned, you could not directly execute a beloved royal princess. This way, her life was in the hands of the gods. The elder said that would explain her devout attachment to the box and her resistance to relinquishing it or letting anyone look inside. The elder said he had heard of things happening like that before, and he remembered some story of a woman washing a shawl in similar circumstances long ago. It was decided that the best thing to do would be to put the girl back into her hollow boat and return her to the sea. It seemed cruel, but the villagers did not want to interfere with the intentions of some foreign state. So they put the girl back in and rowed her back out into the deep sea and set her adrift again, leaving her to her fate. It was also noted that the inside of the hollow boat was covered in strange writing. Some suggested that perhaps it was the writing of Great Britain, or perhaps the girl was some lost princess from the distant country of America. But there was just no way to know for sure. Other accounts of the incident below soon surfaced, each with a slight variation. If you believe all the accounts, the poor girl kept drifting ashore to various spots in Japan, each time only to mercilessly be returned to the ocean. It seems no one was willing to offer her a helping hand. To be honest, this is kind of heartbreaking. This makes me so sad, actually. The first story we had was terrifying, but this last story ends in a heartbreaking note. But we are indeed left wondering who that girl is, where she came from, what do the writings say? And what is in the box she held on to so dearly? I am going to be ending the stream over here. Thank you so much, Mr. Faden, Mr. Faden, Mr. Shadow Along, and Mr. Warren Light for attending my stream. I really appreciate your company and your presence. I was really nervous because it had been a long time since I last did a live stream. So I made a lot of mistakes today. But because you guys kept making me laugh, I feel so much better. Genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, I love you. Thank you, and I really hope I can continue to see you in my journey here on YouTube. Thank you. I will be publishing another video tonight,